Jai Vardhan joining us from Entrackr. Jai, Happy New Year. Thanks so much for joining us here on Startup Central. Great data you folks at Entrackr are putting out, and as also as a journalist, a lot of nice stories and scoops that we follow. And clearly, you also have a startup. You're also busy at work. But having said that, the data that you've been analyzing, it's been a pretty good year for fundraising when it comes to startups.
Yes. So 2019 undoubtedly had been a great year for startups. We have seen record-breaking capital coming to the local startup ecosystem. Around $12 billion had come in the last year, and if we look at the nature of the deal, and we have seen some of the mega deals like 500 million plus deals where Ola, Byju's, and then Udaan scored more than 500 million last year. Apart from that, two companies stood out, that is Paytm and Oyo. They raised more than $1 billion. Apart from that, if we look at the first half of 2019, around 484 deals were clinched in 2019 first half, and about about $5.3 billion had come into the local startup ecosystem. Apart from that, if we look at data points from Reserve Bank of India, that's quite stark in many ways. So still 43% of the funding for startups had come from the family and friends in the last year. It's really a good trend that is catching up and increasing year by year. Apart from that, if we look at the angel pool, that also has been catching up, and the RBI report said that around 13% of the overall funding flown from the angels and the seed level investors comprising of individual and HNIs. But 2-3 larger trends we need to understand in terms of funding last year. If we look at one of the prominent backer like Alibaba completely strayed away from the ecosystem. They did not invest in any fresh company last year. They made in follow-on investment in portfolio companies like Paytm and VMed, that is incubated by Alibaba itself, and then ExpressP. So these three companies, these are the follow-on funding from Alibaba, but Alibaba kept away itself from the from clinching new deals in the last year. Apart from that, if we look at Tiger Global, Tiger really roared in 2019. It made at least more than 13 to 14 bets in B2B space and around 9 to 10 bets in B2C space. So Tiger has come full roaring last year, and especially if we look at Tiger investment in 2018 and before that, it was largely limited to consumer internet companies. But this time, under the command of Scott Slipher, Tiger is looking different. They are also looking at B2B interesting deals.
But while you talked about Alibaba staying away, perhaps except from Paytm, and Tiger Global really roaring all through 2019, the number one was Sequoia, right? Have I got that right? Sequoia made the maximum investments in 2019 in India.
Yes. Oh, yeah. So if you look at Sequoia has been the front runner in terms of venture capitalist. They made incredible amount of bets in Indian startup. Especially Sequoia has been a full stack VC that has been making investment right from seed level to growth stage company to Series C level or Series D level. So that's quite interesting. If you look at Sequoia's search portfolio, search has been the topmost priority for all the early stage startups. And I think even in the next year, 2020, we are in 2020, so Sequoia will be making some great moves, especially with the incubation and early seed funding program that is called Surge.
I want to talk a little bit about the RBI report that you talked about, and this is good information for all of you tuning in. So guess how many if you look at the founders, how many of them are very young? You know, like we all imagine the founders of startups to be extremely young. But according to the RBI report, if you're age 20-25, it's only 9.5%. It's 19% for ages of 25 to 30. When you go to ages 30 to 40, the data point is 36.1%. I'm sure my producer is putting all this out. And according to the RBI report, above 40 is 33.2%, which basically means, Jay, the other way to look at it is that in India, the average age of the founder is above 30, 30 to 40 being the highest over there. So it's not really what you might see in the Silicon Valley or what a lot of people think is the situation, you know, straight out of college and maybe dropping out of college.
So, in fact, the early founders who are at age of 20-25, we have seen small number of deals are reported, and then that is the RBI data, and RBI took only surveyed only 1,300-1,400 startups. So in a way that's not a very accurate data, but still that's going to change in a big way. More capital will fly to startups who are coming fresh out of college, and and having a more risk appetite, and having a more risk taking capability. So that's going to change, I think. And as I said, that report was from RBI survey, and RBI survey only covered 1,300 odd startups across the country. So that cannot be that we cannot take on the face value, but that's going to change, of course, and it's been changing. If we compare the ecosystem in 2014 and 15 and now, so it has matured in a big way, and I think
you need more depth. I take your point, Jay, that you need more depth when it comes to this particular data. Something else that you guys have tracked at Entrackr, so let me touch upon that. In 2019, I thought it would be the investment banking 101, basic principles of investment banking, that you only IPO once you're profitable. But SoftBank and WeWork learned it the hard way. It's now called the pearls of wisdom. And what we did see then after that IPO debacle was this obsession once again with the bottom line, with the profitability, not just for the founder, but now investors are also talking about it. You at Entrackr have actually, taken out those filings from the Ministry of Corporate Affairs. Tell us, which are India's most profitable startups?
So, in fact, we have very few startups who are making profits. But of course, companies like Pine Labs, company in payment space, these companies are making profit. But if you look at most of the unicorns and most of the venture capital backed startups, none of the startups are profitable in India. Even after being in the business for more than 12 or 15 years, hardly there are businesses around whom we call startups are profitable. So most of the company in past, like Pine Labs, that is a profitable venture, but apart from that, very few companies whom we can say startups, and they are profitable.
Okay,
but
I did remember, you put out data, for example, that showed that Urban Ladder, for example, has hit profitability.
So if you look at Urban Ladder case, Urban Ladder has been struggling in business from the past 2.5 years. So even if some of startups who are profitable, they have no other way, because there were no avenue for the funding, so there was the only one option left for them to become profitable. So Urban Ladder is a very exceptional case, and they have been in trouble for past couple of years. So there was no option. They turned profitable. They slashed their workforce more than 70-80% in 2019. So that was the reason of profitability. But if you look at genuine profitable startups, in fact, very few, very few.